This is the three places that the elder shows up: in the family, as a human being; in the culture, as an office or chair that is grown by the culture; and in ritual space, where he stands next to a gateway to the other world. Last time we got a little bit of the first two and none of the second. Elders at the gate. Soft elder versus the hard elder. Soft elder is receiving the elder as a boy, and it's passive. And the hard elder is receiving the elder as an adult, which requires my participation, which then grows something huger than imaginable. And but I'm also saying that doesn't let us off the hook of trying to be an elder unilaterally. Sometimes you have to be an elder unilaterally because the thing doesn't grow you that place. And so you can't step into a position that hasn't been grown, so you quietly do that. It's like going off in a mountain and meditating. But then you come back and give the gift from that meditation. So what is the meditation part? That's what I'm calling the practice. And I'm going to ask this question. What is it that the modern men's movement has in common with ritual, with initiation, and eldership? It's one word. What is the word I'm thinking of? What is the thing that happened when all these guys and Michael Meade and Robert Bly got together with these groups of 100 men? What was the thing that came out that everyone admired and was secretly relieved, and the power? What was that quality? Authenticity. Authenticity. When these guys were stumbling around, this was the mythopoetic men's movement. They instinctively wrote in on poetry and myth and story. And this was the doorway to the other world. Michael Meade says ritual survives as art, as it's now no longer a central part of the culture. It survives as art. Art is the modern, where ritual now resides. These people were already artists, they were already poets, and so they got together and just stumbled around we're interested in men, what are we supposed to do? And what happened, and I was in on that in the early 80s, and when it flowered, and they'd get together and they'd spend a whole week together. And so much of this, besides Michael Meade telling a story that lasted the whole 5 days, or besides the teaching, and they'd have 6 teachers up there, that would be men making personal statements and being real, and then being admired by other men for being real. That was the glue that held the beginnings of what is now called men's work, which we were calling the men's movement, and Robert called the men's stirrings, was men getting up and being real and being admired for it. It was about authenticity. Ritual is about authenticity. If you read Victor Turner, The Ritual Process, he talks about the 3 stages. There's a threshold, you enter ritual space, and then the threshold to return. And during the ritual space, he calls it communitas, which is the ritual version of community. And he calls it anti-structure, where outside the structure, outside ritual space, the king's son has an advantage because he's the king's son, or the guy that has power, the guy that has inside ritual space, it's all stripped away. And it's just you. And you find out what you're made of. That's authenticity. You're actual who you are. And maybe the king's son will be strong in one thing or weak in another. It doesn't matter. It's now you. It doesn't have. It's taking your clothes off. It's being naked. Okay. Initiation, same thing. Initiation is about burning off all of your shit that you grew to please your parents or whatever that is, or their hopes and dreams of how they tried to, and then emerging just alone and naked as you are to try to find out your purpose, not what your mother wants you to do or your father's afraid you might do. It's about authenticity. And the practice with the elder, being eldered is not about being eldered, because we talked about being versus doing. Being eldered is stepping in front of a man who's busy practicing being an elder. And eldering consists of practicing being an elder in front of another person. That's the dance. It isn't something that's actually, it's like hydrogen and oxygen coming together, and voila, it's water now. The practice of authenticity is interesting because by virtue of me being a separate individual, I now divide the world into me and not me. Therefore, everything has an out component and an in component. So the outward component of authenticity is being real, being authentic, presenting, not lying, not playing games. The elder is about relinquishing. He relinquishes his games. He relinquishes all that stuff that he built. His persona, everything is the core inside. That's part of the practice of authenticity. Now the input is interesting because once you realize there's an output and an input, it expands. So the practice of authenticity outward is being real or being sincere or telling the truth or whatever that is. The input is seeing things as they are, detecting the truth. It's called intuition. Intuition is always right. It's only wrong when it's contaminated by emotion. When it's real, it's like psychic. It's like being able to detect what's going on. So part of the practice of authenticity is practicing detecting the real. Because the mentor catalyzes what I came here to do, and the elder catalyzes who I came here to be. Remember we talked about being and doing. So if I do my elder right, I will be scanning for your realness. And when you are real, I'll light up. And when you're fake, I'll be bored. And what a gift. He's the one guy that it's easier to be real around. It must be the hardest thing in the world to be real. Or we'd be real all the time. All my soul wants is to be real, see? My head wants to make sense. My heart wants it to feel good. And my soul just wants the truth. That's all it wants. That's all it wants. My soul just wants the truth. My head feeds on thoughts, my heart feeds on emotions, and my soul feeds on the truth. And the elder's job is to orient themselves to that so that people feel comfortable being real around this guy. Because it must be the hardest thing in the world to be real, or else we would be real all the time. Our soul only wants that to happen. We wouldn't need psychotherapy. It would just be automatic. So practicing the practice. This is my talisman. To try to remember to be real and to see things as they really are. It ain't easy. It ain't easy. And there's exercises you can do. What?
In growing up, I develop a shield. I develop a persona.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that guides me, protects me, and yet it keeps me from being real.
That's our job description. And if we can practice doing that.
So it's letting go of the shield, letting go of the persona. So.
And the culture can give us a boost by giving us a pass. All the social mooring. It's a type of vigilance. To know when to say things. If you give the elder the pass, he's freed for another kind of vigilance. That's the vigilance we're talking about. He watches something. And all of us are watching, better watch out, do this and don't say that, and you should, on all the crap that we have to, and when he doesn't have to watch that, he sees other things. He sees other things. One exercise is to sit and just listen to all the sounds. Just listen to all the sounds. Coming into the present moment is coming into sensation. So just listening to, it's like meditation, just listening to what's there. Another one is to sit and go and ask the question, who is here with me now? Do that when you're by yourself. Do that when you're by yourself. If you want to have authenticity input, seeing things for what's, detecting things that are actually there, then you're going to have to accept on faith that there's stuff there that I don't realize is there. Perhaps other sentient beings that don't have a body, maybe. My grandfather's come in. He said, you feel some extra thing come in? Try to feel that. That's the practice of authenticity input.